The Gautrain in Gauteng has been in existence since 2010, commuting 32,000 people daily. Now, this Youth Month, it is celebrating 14 years of existence in a socio-political landscape that's been plagued by power cuts, economic constraints, and sporadic service delivery protests that have threatened to derail its business in the passenger rail industry. Now, the three Gautrain train tracks are part of Gauteng's broader integrated public transport system. SABC News Hasina Gori spent the day speaking with the Gautrain CEO, stakeholders and commuters. Hasina, good afternoon to you. I'm sure, there is excitement all around because 14 years is to be commended. But I remember, when the Gautrain was launched years ago, the government actually saying that it would want, the Gautrain to also go into townships like Soweto, for instance. So having spoken to the CEO, some stakeholders, what are they saying as they track their progress?
Good afternoon, Inati. And yes, as you mentioned, 14 years ago on this month, in the station that we're standing at, which is here in Sandton, this was the first train that embarked from here to the OR Tambo International Airport to that station. It happened 14 years ago, just a month before the FIFA World Cup, which the country hosts. So quite an exciting time. It was piloted then, and since then, at least 192 million passenger trips have been taken. At least 30,000 people use these trains daily in their commute. And from the commuters that we've been speaking to, we've got a lot of positive information from them. Many of them describe it as convenient, safe, easy. It's become a way of them going to and from work, or to and from school or a campus in a way that is also affordable as well, which are some of the concerns one has, in South Africa as a whole. We have issues of transport being quite expensive, also long delays on roads. So this was one of the pilot projects of, here in Johannesburg, a collaboration between government as well as the management team of Gautrain to create a system and an alternative mode and to bring more on these plans that we've seen in the 14 years, but also where we're going to from here. I want to bring in the management CEO of Gautrain, Mr. Tsepo. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Let's start with congratulations for 14 years. When this idea, was created and envisioned, what was the idea behind bringing the Gautrain into Johannesburg and the 10 stations in the network that we currently have?
So the Gautrain has always been part of what we used to call the Blue IQ projects. The Blue IQ projects were always intended to be part of what empowers the economy of Gauteng. How do you jumpstart the economy of any province? A lot of it can easily be done with infrastructure, and part of that was the Gautrain. And in essence, what it did is it gave us space to be able to grow from there. It was originally an economic development project through transport.
We've seen it grow from just trains to now being a multi-transport node. Let's talk on what we've seen being expanded just beyond just the railway.
This is a key question, because what you see around us right now, the various buildings themselves that have popped up, from the Gautrain Hotel to the Old Mutual building to the the various companies that are here in this space. A lot of these buildings are sold on the basis of their proximity to the Gautrain station, and in actual fact, any good mobility system, it's good for property development. And when you look at places like Rosebank in itself, by the time we were building the station, it was a dead town. It was already starting to get into the crime and grime situation. But you look at it today, it is one of the places that developed the most at the current moment.
Currently, the Gautrain has 10 stations. There were talk the last time we spoke during Transport Month last year of expansions. Where are we with the expansions, especially into the south?
So we're in the midst of the additional route determination that we needed to do. So original route determination that we had covered went as far as Little Falls. So the station lives here at the back of Sandton, which is what we call Sandton 2, and then we go into Randburg, and from Randburg we go into Cosmo City, and then from Cosmo City then we go into Little Falls just below the Rhodoport Ridge, and then from then onwards we go through the Rhodoport Ridge into Rhodoport itself and under Rhodoport Station, the current Rhodoport Station, which is the process station, and then ultimately near the Jabulani Station in Jabulani, but in between the Jabulani Station, the mall, and the amphitheater there, that's where we land as what they call it, as the Gautrain. Now, it's a big part of what we have to do, because what we want to do there is replicate what we've experienced in Sandton. Can it happen in places like Soweto? Can we rebuild Soweto and think of it much more as a new center of this amazing city? And that we believe we can really do. And in actual fact, it will change the face of travel as a whole. Because when you think about it, if you can create economic and job opportunities in Sandton, because it is easy to in Soweto, because it's easy to travel there, then we are actually achieving what we were meant to be right in the beginning as a Blue IQ project.
You've mentioned, the stations we currently have, but also the plans. And one of the criticisms that was given around Gautrain, that it was seen as an elitist transport mode. Is that a fair criticism?
Well, fair or not fair, let's talk about the more important issues. Who is the elite that you now see on the system at the current moment? These are general working people, working class people that use the system, that actually enjoy the system as a whole. Yes, does it cost more than the average transport system? Yes. And that is a conversation I want to have, because, who deems themselves as an elite or not an elite, it's not something I want to weigh into, but I would rather have the conversation about, can we create different products that then enable scholars to actually access the system, that enable people with disability to access the system, that enable senior citizens to access the system, but also enable indigent families to access the system. And I have said it as one of my key priorities as part of my tenure as CEO, to ensure that these products come to light.
We've also seen Gautrain going into a new dawn with the current plan and financial plan that we have ending in 2026. What can we expect, which is the financial plans of Gautrain?
So as we are in the current moment, we are planning for the closure of the current concession agreement. But also in the midst of all of that, we have put out a tender into the market to be able to look for, the operator and maintainer of the system itself. We have looked at it, and we've looked at it properly, and be able to say whether or not should we take over the system and operate it ourselves. And we actually believe that the separation of duties, where somebody else assures that somebody does the work and you then hire in an operator and a maintainer, is the best way to go. And we are in the midst of actually reconstituting the system, and that in itself will change the system. Remember, at this point in time, we had been in the midst of paying the debt that relates to the building of the system. By the end of 2026, in actual fact, already as it is right now, we've already paid off the system. And this is a free unencumbered asset that is owned by the Gauteng government. And in essence, what it does is it will reduce the cost overall. But what it will do is it will also give us room for us to think about our pricing. And that in itself is a key consideration, because we will be taking on the price setting for the system. But it also means we also think about how we subsidize projects like this and systems like ourselves.
And can we see a replication of the Gautrain in other provinces? Seeing 14 years on, all these lessons that you've learned, can we see this being replicated in other provinces?
Look, there are two things. One is the rail policy speaks about it. The rail policy speaks about 9 additional Gautrains in or similar systems in other provinces. But one of the key components of creating systems like that is actually creating agencies similar to the one that we are as the Gautrain Management Agency. The Gautrain works because the Gautrain Management Agency exists. The private partner has a knowledgeable partner who can actually work with them in being able to enable the system to function very well.
We know where we've coming from, but what can we see new, different, innovative for the Gautrain in the next 14 years?
So one of the key things that we have to do is, first and foremost, the current train will have to be refurbished. We have to add more trains. We have to reduce our headways. We have to look at a different signaling system. We have to bring on innovations such as, you being able to charge your phone while you're sitting on your seat. Simple things like that are modern conveniences that are there in modern trains all over the world have to be brought onto the refurbishment of the trains. But similarly, we also have to upgrade our ticketing again and enable it to do more. We have to be able to connect to all the other systems that are there. We also have to bring on additional innovation in terms of how we develop properties in stations that have not developed, such as Midrand, Centurion, Pretoria Station, and also Hatfield and even Park. We have to be able, but we have to guide that development. It will be done with us thinking through what is the benefit to the system, because a lot of this development that has been done here has not benefited the system directly. Yes, it has benefited in terms of bringing ridership to the system as a whole, but we actually have to, it has to benefit our fare revenue.
Talking on collaboration right now, and I want to ask around here, you talked about rideshare, and we saw one of the issues during Transport Month in 2014, I can remember that far back, that Gautrain was here as a way to decongest Sandton. Has it played that part, and was there buy-in from the corporations and the employees that worked here to bring down and decongest the roads?
So if you look at the buildings that have been put up here, there's a big challenge with them. We do not actually have enough parking bays in Sandton to can accommodate the current workforce that is here. And in essence, just trying to bring your car into Sandton as it is right now, it's a big challenge. Yes, travel patterns have changed and people work from home more, but those that come into the office on any day, they still use the system properly. This is one of the stations, so about 70% of people that come from the north actually get off the train here, and it has the highest traffic than any other system or any part of the system.